Hey friends, it's Jen, and I am so excited to introduce you to a guest host today, Kristen Hallinan. And Kristen is coming from a really beautiful vantage point as she invites us to bring areas of grief and of celebration to the Lord. This is related to her newly released book, Legacy Changer. It's Heal the Hurt, Redeem Your Story, Create Hope for Your Family. I'm so excited for you to get to know a little bit of her story and to receive the encouragement that she has to share with you. Kristen is a sought after writer and speaker. She's passionate about helping women redeem the pain of their past and move towards a healthier and more hopeful future. She's on mission to equip women and to support families, and I'm so excited for you to hear from Kristen. So here she is.
Hi, I'm Kristen Hallinan. I am so excited to talk to you today about how to talk to God about our pain. When we've had a painful past, or maybe we're experiencing a lot of pain today, it can be hard to know how to talk to God about that. It can be easy to feel like, shouldn't we just feel grateful for everything that God's done for us? But God wants to sit with us in our pain too. Because, friend, you and I have things to grieve, whether that's something that should have happened in our childhood but didn't, whether it's a relationship that we lost, or maybe just something that we feel so angry about. We have something to grieve, and it's a really important part of our healing process. Now, the way the world grieves looks very different than biblical lament or healing with God. The world just gets angsty and crying and doesn't know where to turn. But the Bible tells us that God wants us to turn towards Him in our pain. Psalm 13 is a beautiful example of what biblical lament should look like. King David is one of my very favorite characters in the Bible because he's so relatable. Often in the Psalms, we see him just crying out, saying, God, everything is a mess. And he gave us a really perfect rhythm for what lament can look like in Psalm 13. First, we turn towards God. David said, How long, Lord, will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me? He knew that he had to come alongside and grieve with God, that doing it on his own was just not going to work out. After we turn towards God, we voice our pain. David says, How long will I store up anxious concerns within me, agony in my mind every day? How long will my enemy dominate me? And then ask God for help. David said, Consider me and answer, Lord my God. Restore brightness to my eyes. Otherwise, I will sleep in death. My enemy will say, I have triumphed over him, and my foes will rejoice because I am shaken. And lastly, choose to trust God. David ends this by saying, But I have trusted in your faithful love. My heart will rejoice in your deliverance, and I will sing to the Lord because he had treated me generously. It can kind of feel like, whoa, what happened at the end there? Was that some emotional whiplash David was having? But it wasn't. He knew that even if God didn't answer his grief, even if things didn't work out the way that in his limited understanding he wanted things to work out, that God was still good, that he was still faithful, that over and over again, David had seen God shown up for him in his life, and he knew that he would do it again. What I love about David is not only does he teach us how to grieve well, but he taught us how to celebrate well. One of my very favorite verses in the whole Bible is 2 Samuel 6:22. Saul's daughter was chastising David for getting wild and silly, singing and dancing in the streets. And he says, I will get even more undignified than this in the name of the Lord. David knew that there is no level of us getting too big or too loud or too crazy about all of God's goodness. And in my pain that I used to have, I was a terrible celebrator. But I have come to learn that when I am celebrating in the name of the Lord, when I am celebrating the blessings that He has given me, it is good and right to get loud and crazy with it. And that is nothing to be ashamed of. Celebration and lamentation are both important parts of talking to God. It feels like two extremes, but too often we're playing it safe, living in the middle, just cruising along in our relationship with God. He wants to hold our hurts and He wants to hold our celebration. He wants to be with us in the highs and the lows. God wants to redeem your pain, friend. He doesn't want that pain sitting within you any longer. This is not going to be a one-time step through those 4 steps that David showed us, but over and over, we're turning towards God and voicing our pain and asking God for His help and then choosing to trust Him. God, reveal to me the places that I have not grieved. And Lord, would you help me grieve those alongside you? And then how can I become a better celebrator because of your goodness, Lord? Show me in my everyday life how I can get big and wild and exuberant about all the goodness that you've put in my life.
What an encouraging reminder that we can bring both our grief and our celebration to God. We can talk with Him about areas that we're grieving. We can come to Him in our celebrating, and God's steadfast love for us never fails. I encourage you, take these questions to God and see what He would share with you. I'm so glad we had Kristen today here on the podcast. There's links in the show notes for all the places you can connect with her and where you can get her debut book, Legacy Changer. Thanks everyone for joining us. Have a good talk.